Hello chess friends and welcome to your of Chess channel and welcome back to the TCEC Season 27 Cup Finals between the two most powerful chess engines in the world, between Stockfish 17 and Lc0. So the Cup Finals is over. I'm not going to reveal immediately the result. We're skipping now immediately to the last game of this event, in which Stockfish had the white pieces and Lc0 had the black pieces in an amazing Richter-Rauzer attack of the Sicilian defense. So let's see now what happened. In my opinion, very crazy game, which again shows the differences in approaches between Stockfish and Lc0. While Lc0 is of course the more positional engine with the more strategic engine, Stockfish is of course a different kind of a beast. Stockfish is more tactical. Basically, when the game is opening up in the early stage of the game, Stockfish is playing without inaccuracies, mistakes, or blunders. When the game is static, when the game is blocked out, when the position is not so mobile, Lila had, and I think, some great chances. Also won some games with the black pieces, even against Stockfish in some games that we have analyzed before. So I think also in this game you see the differences between Stockfish and Lc0 in the same opening that they had to play. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces. The fish opened with the move e4, c5 by Lc0, knight to f3, d6, but this move, as we mentioned also before, are prearranged by the organizer in one moment. Then the engines are calculating the position for themselves. So far we are still in the prearranged opening. After knight takes d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, knight to c6, bishop to g5, we have now the Richter-Rauzer attack against the Sicilian defense. We have now queen to b6 attacking now the b2 pawn, and now we have knight to b3 covering everything here on the b file, not allowing of course this pawn to be taken. We have now the move e6, and this is now the last move that was prearranged by the organizer. Now the engines are calculating the position for themselves. So after move e6, Stockfish and Lc0 continued first of all in the same way. Stockfish and Lila in the same position played the move bishop to f4, knight to a5, and now after move bishop to e3, now comes already a huge difference in the approach. Here when Stockfish played with the black pieces, Stockfish played the move queen to d8, immediately getting out of the attack, and then after bishop to d3, you see the game, in my opinion, is not direct immediately. What I mean about direct, it's not like immediately tactics are happening all over the board, so the game can of course change into many things. But you see now in this game that we're following now between Stockfish, when Stockfish played now with the white pieces and Lila-0 with the black pieces, Lila allowed here after queen to c7, Stockfish, as we mentioned, played queen to d8, allowed here Stockfish to get an extra tempo. And you see now, when it comes to pure maybe tactics, when it comes to maybe pure tactical calculations, of course Stockfish is much more powerful. So I would say, if maybe this super finals would be prearranged in more static and maybe more positional games, then Lila-0 could have really great chances. But now you see after move knight to b5, immediately the game is exploding, the game is dynamic, the game is really having many tactical shots. So after move knight to b5, now Lila-0 finally plays the move queen to d8, and Stockfish goes immediately aggressive with the move e5. Stockfish is not allowing here Lila-0 to go into a positional struggle. Now the game is already very dynamic. After knight takes b3, a takes b3, the a file is now open. Lila took, now d takes e5. Lila gets temporarily an extra pawn, but now after queen to d8, king to d8, bishop to a7, Stockfish gets now the pawn back, and Stockfish evaluates this position as already a +1 evaluation in white's favor. So Stockfish said this is already a huge advantage for white. And we have to mention, Stockfish has created in this tactical sequence already a beautiful endgame idea. Stockfish has created this 3 versus 1 pawn majority on the queen side, so Stockfish will probably try to do something on this side of the board, will eventually push these pawns, will let them roll on this side of the board. Lila, on the other hand, could maybe try to do something on this side of the board, but we have to always consider, even if black pushes the pawns here on this side of the board, there's always the king that could maybe stop somehow this position. I really like more this 3 versus 1 here on the queen side than black's 5 versus 3 on this side of the board. I think already huge positional advantage here for Stockfish, and we have to also mention many problems also with the endangered king here by black on d8. We have now knight to d5, c4, and now Bishop to b4, hitting the king, and now Stockfish has also lost the privilege of castling. We have now knight to c7, and now a beautiful move here by the fish, rook to a4. What should you do? Knight to b5 is not so good here. You cannot take out the knight. You would love to do that, maybe create a triple pawn structure here, but then bishop to b6 is immediately winning the rook, and I would say game over here for white. So that's why for rook to a4, king to d7, and now bishop to b6. Rook takes a4, b takes a4, and Stockfish undoubled now. The pawn structure has now a clear 3 versus 1 situation on this side of the board, has also beautiful piece activity on this side of the board, has a good bishop, will eventually get the king here. Rook can easily get into the game. We have to also mention the position is also a little bit stuck here for black. Black's light square bishop cannot get into the game, so really so far a messy position now for black. And surprisingly, this position has been played already. I see one game, Nicolae Niculescu against Ernst Keber back from 2022. So probably Nicolae Niculescu and Ernst Keber have somewhere this line prepared. Very interesting now position to play for both sides. We have now knight to a6 here. Lila0 is trying maybe to get the knight even on a good score on c5, but now Stockfish continues with the beautiful a5. Simply advances the pawn, simply creates more pressure on this side of the board. You see with every move, Stockfish is not losing any tempi on this side of the board, just going for the attack on this side of the board. And with this beautiful piece activity, white is of course much better. King to e7, king to c2, and now finally we have reached a completely new position in move 21. And now we're not following this game that I've mentioned before back from 2022. We have now bishop to d7, and now king to b3. Good move by the fish. Stockfish continues simply attack even with the king, because in an endgame stage we're supposed to play with the king, not only just try to protecting. Now the king is of course a valuable piece in the attack by white. Here we have now rook to b8, and now bishop to e2. What should you do now from black's perspective? You cannot pick up the knight. That's the issue here. You would love to do that. You would love to get rid of this annoying knight on b5, but then after c takes b5, the knight suddenly gets deflected from the defense of the bishop on b4. So that's why the move king to b3 was very important in Stockfish development. After bishop to e2, bishop to c6, f3, covering the g2 square, and now f5. You see, Lila is also trying to do something with this 5 versus 3 situation on the king side, but I think there's not so much that can be done on this side of the board. This attack is much more powerful. It seems, at least to me, more pieces are dancing on the queen side than on the king side. So you have some kind of an attack, but you don't have support of your pawn. Maybe just the bishop is supporting this attack, but nothing really dramatic is going on now here in the center of the board, and also on the king side. We have now rook to c1. Stockfish includes now the rook into the attack, e4, and now knight to a7. Great move. Again attacking now the bishop, trying of course again to play maybe knight takes c6, then maybe c5, and then pick up the knight, and also then pick up the bishop on b4. What should you do? If you play here e takes f3, then after g takes f3, this wasn't playing the game, but I wanted to show you also that again, even if you go into some kind of lines like this, bishop to d6 attacking this pawn, again, look at this. White's attack is much more powerful. White can even allow here to lose maybe this pawn here on h2. It doesn't matter, but now look at this with b4, b5, c6. The position is simply collapsing on this side of the board. It's a long run for black, I think, to make anything here. You have only this passer on the h file. You have to first of all get the bishop somewhere, then you lose a move with your pawn, then maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 moves you need in order to make a single threat on this side of the board. Meanwhile, white is already there, has a progressive plan with the move b5, and I think much better position. So see, you cannot even go into this line. You cannot even go for this pawn on h2. Nothing really is working here. So that's why Lila in the beginning tried to defend the position on the queen side, and then maybe try to do something on the king side. We have now bishop to d2. Stockfish gets attacked, rook to c2, and now e3. e3 is of course good here for black, because you're protecting the bishop and you have a very advanced pawn. But look at this bishop is a beautiful piece. It's not only supporting the attack by white on this side of the board, it creates also a blocking idea here. It's not allowing this pawn to roll further. So now the attack by black is really splashed. Nothing is mobile here in the center of the board, and now Stockfish will eventually get the attack on the queen side. We have now the move c5. We have bishop to d7, and now comes a beautiful move. A move that I really didn't expect. Really a powerful idea here by the fish. Stockfish plays the amazing rook to c3. Stockfish says here, Leela, your position is so bad, I can allow here myself even to give up the exchange. You cannot do anything here. Whatever you do, the idea about this move is of course to include the rook to the square d3 and then maybe to get it on d6 to simply put more pressure against black's camp. Let's see now what happens if you ignore. Leela took the rook on c3, but let's see if you ignore. If you play something like e5, seemed like a logical idea to me to continue your attack in the center of the board, then c6 is working here. Look at this. After b takes c6, bishop to a6 wins the piece. You're trying maybe even something like bishop to e6, then we simply get the king here. You finally now take, even if you delay to take out now this one, look at this. You can just run into this sequence, but now with a6 the position is collapsing. Two connected pass pawns here on the a and b file. Game over here for black. So after rook to c3, the beautiful move by the fish, Leela finally took, and now Stockfish includes the king into the game. Gets out of the b file attack also, because Stockfish wants eventually to play the move c6, then after something like bishop to c6, knight to c6 to pick up here the knight. So that's why Stockfish is getting out of this attack on the b file. Could be dangerous. And now the huge positional threat is obviously the move b4 and then finally b5. We have rook to a8. Now comes this idea, e5. Leela is pushing here the position in the center of the board, but now b5. And look at this, three very unpleasant pawns are marching here. Bishop very active, and look at this where the knight is here on a7. Bishop is supporting the attack. Really messed up game here for Leela. Knight to b8. Stockfish plays a beautiful f4, sacrifices just a pawn just in order to create again a pawn immobility. Even if you try something like e takes f4, then bishop to f3 solves again all of the tactical problems in white's position. So after move f4, e4 by Leela, and now g3, fixing everything, and the pawns on the e file are stopped. They cannot move anymore. Nothing dramatic is happening here in white's position. g6, bishop to f1, king to f7, and Stockfish is getting now finally the king into the game. c6, b takes c6, knight takes c6, knight takes, and b takes c6 creates now this position where, okay, now white doesn't have any more the connected pass pawns, but with the support of this dark square bishop, with the support of the light square bishop, and with the very active king, I would say, again, completely messed up game here for black. So Leela cannot get out of this mess, so tries somehow maybe to trade off these pieces, but Stockfish plays an active king to e5, good move. We have now king to e7, and now c7. King to d7, bishop to b5. First of all, kicking away the king. Now again, bishop to c5. You see, Stockfish is not allowing Leela to activate the king in any ways. Now the king is far away from the action. These bishops are controlling all of the squares also on this side of the board, and they're controlling also the mobility of these pawns. These pawns are rolling, so very great game here for white. Bishop to b4, rook to a7. Stockfish gets now finally the king closer to the action. King to f6, and now bishop to c3. Again, kicking away the king, not allowing any progress of black's king. Bishop to c4, again attack, and now king to c6. We have now king to e7, bishop to b4. Again, Leela has to step back. Again, a new check, king to e7, and now h3. Keeping it calm, Stockfish says here, I can even allow myself some calm moves on this side of the board in order to improve my pawn structure. And basically, with these maneuvers, with these checks, Stockfish is waiting here, Leela says here, to make something. Then, of course, there is a possibility of king to b6 and then pushing the pawn further. So nothing can be done here for Leela says 0. King to f8, bishop to b4. Again, a new check. King to e8, and you see now again g4. Great move here by the fish, because if you try f takes g4, then we simply play h takes g4, and the issue is you cannot pick up this one because of king to b6, and now you get to check. This bishop is coming into the game, so whatever happens, really there's no good defense here for black. After move g4, Leela tried h6, Stockfish took, g takes f5, and now h4, simply advancing the pawn. Again, waiting. Stockfish is playing, first of all of the moves is trying to get sort of a Zugzwang position where black is pretty much forced to do bad moves when black is on the move. After move e2, you see now Leela doesn't have even better opportunity. Even if you try h5, then bishop to e2 will eventually get the pawn, or even if you try rook to a8, then king to b6 is going to happen. So really paralyzed position now for black. Black basically is running out of any good move. So that's why e2, Stockfish says, thank you, I'll play h5, will neutralize even the position further. We have now e3, and now Stockfish is starting to grab some pawns. We have king to f7, again bishop to d3, king to e6, bishop to c4, again not allowing this king to get closer because of the beautiful bishop's activity. Now Stockfish again activates the king. We have now king to g7, and now a beautiful idea here by the fish, a beautiful endgame tactic, a6. Really crazy move, because even if you try here bishop to a6, then of course bishop to a6, then of course we'll simply play king to d7. You can just prolong the game maybe just by sacrificing the rook for a pawn, but this pawn cannot be promoted because of the bishop's activity, and suddenly white's king will march towards this side of the board, and it's of course game over here for black. So that's why after move a6, here we have rook takes a6, bishop takes a6, and now after bishop takes a6, king to e7. Stockfish is again not rushing with king to d7. First of all, neutralizes black's king, which is really a beautiful endgame idea. You can of course play king to d7, but first of all we're playing a calm king to e7, not allowing, as we said, this king to get closer. e2, Stockfish protects now the square, and now goes simply with the king towards this side of the board. Lila is forced now to give up the piece, and now again king to d7, going into an opposition. We have reached now a similar position. Game over here for black. Stockfish simply continued to push this pawn. After a couple more moves, the game was over with this beautiful checkmate sequence here on d2. So great game. This was the decisive game of this beautiful tournament. Eventually Stockfish managed to get a draw in this pre-arranged opening with the black pieces against Lila-C0. So in the last round, really critical things happened. Stockfish get the draw with the black pieces and eventually won this game. With this win, Stockfish is now the winner of the TCEC Season 27 Cup event in 2024. The result was 18.5 points against Lila-C0 17.5 points, which is, in my opinion, still a great result for Lila-C0. If maybe the engines would have played more positional battles, more positional struggles, I think Lila would have also better chances. You see, in this tactical battles, Stockfish is just a pure calculator. Stockfish can get out of this tactical masses in a beautiful way. Stockfish finds opportunities to find drawish solutions. Lila-C0, on the other hand, played really immortal positional games in this event. So really great competition. Finally we had a beautiful competition. It's not like Stockfish dominated here over Lila-C0. The result was really pretty tight, and congratulations again to both developers of the Lila engine and also of the Stockfish 17 chess engine. So okay, we know finally who is now the best chess engine in the world. It's of course Stockfish 17. We'll see now what will happen. Now we have also this TCEC regular season, TCEC season 27, that will follow, of course, also in the next months on the TCEC website. So I think again we'll have an mortal battle between Stockfish and Lila-C0. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Richter-Rauzer attack of the Sicilian Defense. If you want to see some other beautiful, spectacular chess games like this, check out our coverage. Here are some games that we have analyzed before, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.